All right, this video is for the 6B section, writing, graphing, and interpreting polynomial functions. What's really important here is that we recognize the degree as well as the leading coefficient. All right, it helps me to think about kind of a little chart here: odd degree, even degree, positive leading coefficient, negative leading coefficient, and what our end behavior looks like. For an odd degree with a positive leading coefficient, we end down to the left, up to the right. That reverses for a negative leading coefficient, so we end up to the left and down to the right. For an even degree function, our end behavior and a positive leading coefficient is going to head upwards, both towards negative infinity for x and positive infinity. And then an even function or even degree function for a negative leading coefficient is going to head downwards both ways. And this chart kind of really helps me think about how to graph these. I'll definitely help you with 1, 2, 3, and 4. And then we'll look at a couple. I think we're going to pick out number 5 and number 7 or 8 to do together in this video. All right, so you can copy that down if you'd like. Let's look at number 5. So always the process that I follow is mark my x-intercepts, look at the degree, look at the leading coefficient, mark the end behavior, and then graph. All right, so our x-intercepts always occur at opposites of factors. That tells me x equals 2, -4, +1, and -3 are my x-intercepts. So I'm going to mark those: 2, -4, +1, and -3. All right, got that done. Now I need to look at my degree. Degree is the highest exponent, right, on a variable. And if we notice that we multiply this whole thing out, we would be multiplying at most 4 x's together, which would give me x to the 4th. So this is degree 4, which is an even number. Our leading coefficient, that number out in front, in this case is -1. So I'm thinking, all right, even degree, leading coefficient that's negative. If we check our chart real quick, even coefficient negative, or sorry, leading coefficient negative, even degree, our end behavior is going to head down in both directions. So I know this guy's going downwards, this guy's going downwards. Now it's a matter of connecting these. Last thing I look for is any bounces in my equation. That would be based on any degree 2's on any quantities. I don't see any of those, so that tells me that my graph is going to pass through each x-intercept. So now it's about connecting it with a smooth curve, making note to only go through the x-intercepts. And as I do that, I can see that my end behavior going downwards in both directions. I go through each x-intercept, no bounces at any of them, and we have our complete graph. All right, you can check the key for other answers like 1 through 4 and 6. We are also going to write an equation for number 8 here. So number 7, you can check that answer key as well. So writing an equation, same kind of process. I think, all right, well, what are my x-intercepts? And I see them at -3, -1, and 2. That means my factors are going to be x plus 3, x plus 1, and x minus 2. So I'm going to put those in there as part of my equation. And these are all multiplied together because I'm writing this in factored form. All right, this does look like degree 3. It's odd based on my end behavior in opposite directions, so I'm not missing anything there. And then I just think about, is that positive, or is that leading coefficient positive or negative? Well, if it's an odd degree function, which it looks like I have, and a positive leading coefficient, my end behavior looks like this. If it's a negative leading coefficient, my end behavior looks like that. So I look at this graph, and that is clearly a negative leading coefficient here. So I know that there's got to be a negative number out in front. We don't typically mess with that y-intercept, so we're going to call that a -1 out in front. If you wanted to just put the negative symbol, that's the same thing as writing a -1. So either of those would work, and that is the equation to this function. All right, so go ahead and check the answer key online for any other questions or get in touch with your teacher.